Hey everyone, welcome to Small Business Strong. I'm your host, John Lane, and today we're going to be talking about how you can start your own handyman company. Today's podcast is meant to be a brief overview. However, I've created a resource called the Handiwork Startup System, and I'm going to be linking that in the description below. Before we get to it, I'm going to tell you what not to do when you start. So 4 years ago, when I started my handyman company, I had two friends from different friend groups, and they each started their own handyman company the same year I did. One of them came from a property management background. He worked in maintenance for years. He knew what he was doing. He knew all about fixing things. He had done it for years, and he went right in to the industry. My other friend was working for one of the larger handyman companies here in DFW. And same story, had tons of tool knowledge, had tons of client experience. Both of their businesses failed within the first year. There's several things I attribute that to. I'm going to be sharing a couple of things that I'd like to highlight and their stories on why they did not work out. So we'll take my first buddy who I'd worked with. And so great guy, tons of knowledge just on how to fix things in general. When he first started, he did do the same thing I did, which was tell friends and family, hey, I'm starting a handyman business. I'd like to get work lined out for the next couple of months. But after he did work for friends and family, he really didn't have much work come in. And so he started buying leads. If you've heard of that before, it's very competitive. Basically, I think he was buying them off Angie or Yelp. I don't remember, but he was paying per lead, and so basically, the lead is not a conversion; it's literally just a phone call or a click. And so he unfortunately ran into issues of customers not paying because he did not use the referral system that I highlight in my handiwork startup system. When my other friend started his company, he chose to buy all brand new tools, a brand new truck, and he ended up starting his company out with tons of debt. If you start your business out with debt, that does a couple of things. One, it allows you to be at the mercy of the ebbs and flows of daily business. So for me, November, December, January is pretty slow. That can take a business out on its own. The second thing it does is it puts you at the mercy of any unforeseen events. So say your tools get stolen and that causes you to close up shop. Obviously, tools do get stolen, and my tools have been stolen twice. And my truck's also been stolen, but that did not shut my business down. And the only reason was because I did not have this massive debt over my head. These are how my two friends started. One started with buying leads, and the other one started by purchasing a new truck and new tools. In this handiwork startup system, I really focus on two things, which is one, bootstrapping your way into starting in this industry, and then two, focusing on referrals. Every family member and friend that you have, they're going to be, and I'll talk about this here in a minute, but they're going to be the first people that you work for, and then they're going to give you references, or they're going to refer you out to other people. They're going to refer you, and it's going to build. So that is the tale of my two friends. Both of those guys are still my friends today. They're just not in the handyman industry anymore. So let's get into it. So you want to start your handyman business. You are either working a full-time job, or you are in school, or you want to do this. So what do you do? Where's the first place you start? The first thing you need to do is go to your calendar, circle a specific day, preferably a few months out, to give friends and family time to book you. Circle that day and say, this is the day I'm going to start my handyman business. It does not have to be grand. You don't have to have the perfect truck or trailer or tools. You need to set a date, though. That helps you to do two things. One, it kind of pre-sells your services so that you do have guaranteed work lined up, but it also does a second thing too. The second thing it does is it shows your friends and family that you're serious. You're showing them, hey, I'm going to be doing handyman work in a month or 2 months. That builds anticipation. So when the actual day comes, you're going to need a vehicle and you're going to need tools. And so what I always tell people with tools is, and this is what I did. I went to Harbor Freight and I spent $200. I bought every hand tool that I thought I would need. This is not where you end up. This is where you start. $200 at Harbor Freight can buy you a ton of tools, a ton of hand tools. Where I started with power tools was I started with Ryobi, and I went to Home Depot. Right now, I think it's $349. You can get like a 6 or 7 starter pack of power tools. It comes with a drill and impact. It comes with an oscillating saw, a flashlight, and several other things I'm not thinking about right now. That gets you everything you need. So for under $1,000, you can have all the tools that you need to start your handyman business. So let's talk about vehicle now. Do I need a truck or a van, or do I need a trailer? No, you don't need any of that to start. What I would recommend is use what you have. If you have a 1996 Honda Accord, use that. You're probably going to need a roof rack on it to haul some drywall and plywood, but use what you have. Again, where you start is not where you end. You do not need to have this perfect wrapped truck, wrapped trailer, or wrapped new Mercedes Sprinter. You don't need that to start. Now, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to do everything perfect. You're not going to look as professional as you will down the road, but this is a stepping stone. This is a building block. Again, I highly, highly recommend not going and purchasing that brand new F-150 that you like, or you see that Chevy 2500 that you've always wanted, or you have that Dodge Cummins that is just always in the back of your head that this is what a handyman is. That's not how you start because you're smart. You don't even have guaranteed work for the next 2, 3, 4 months. So how are you going to make that car payment when it's slow? And it will get slow at times. Ego can crucify you here, but you have to start with what you have. Okay, so the dates here, you have your daily driver vehicle that you're now using for your handyman company. You have $200 worth of hand tools from Harbor Freight, and you have $350 worth of power tools from Home Depot. You load up your tools and you go to your first client, which is a family member or a friend. I say this multiple times in my handiwork startup system, but no quotes in person ever. I still do not do this today because there is a social pressure to give a good price. I need to go back and think about the photos, the description. Are there any unforeseen things that I might not have thought about? You have to process this on your own in a quiet space, and then you present the client their price. While you're there, you take photos, take a good description, ask the client questions, think of anything that you can think of that would help you in this estimate later, and go home and immediately work on that estimate. When you start out, you're going to have to research pretty much everything that you estimate. When you send the client the estimate, usually within 24 hours is best, you're going to want to send them one message, either text message or email. In that one message, you're going to thank them for having you out. You're going to have line item by line item, and you're going to have a price attached to it. You're going to have a total at the bottom, and you're going to have your next availability. Now, even if you don't have work for that next day, I would highly recommend putting it to the next week unless they say it's urgent. So even if you estimate on a Monday, you're on site on Monday, you deliver the estimate Monday night, and you do not have any work on Tuesday, I would say, hey, my next availability is either later this week or the following Monday. That shows them that you're in demand. I mentioned it earlier, but in my handiwork startup system, I really harp on the fact never to charge by the hour. There's a couple of ways that charging by the hour can actually hurt you. The first thing is that it actually punishes you for getting better. When I started, the first time I caulked a tub probably took me an hour. Now I can caulk a tub in 12 minutes. Should I really make less money for having more experience? The second reason I always charge by the job is that it leaves expectations unmet. Okay, so you finished your first job and hopefully everything went really well. Some of the more obvious things, but I feel it's necessary to cover, is you show up on time, you leave your workspace cleaner than when you arrived, and you're very respectful. If you see shoes by the front door, you go ahead and pop your shoes off when you walk in. You want to just be respectful, and you want that client for life. So you finish your first job. Congratulations. After the job is complete, ask your client if they'd be willing to post about you on either Facebook, Nextdoor, or any group chats that they're in. These are huge for businesses. These are even bigger than Google reviews, which I do have a few Google reviews, but my name spreads like wildfire through mom's group chats. through Facebook groups, through Nextdoor. This is your number one source of referrals. So again, congratulations, you got through your first job and you're now getting referrals. So after this, it's just rinse and repeat. Obviously, there are tons more nuanced details, like you need to have general liability insurance, you need to have commercial auto insurance, you need to have a separate bank account. If you are in a state where you need to be a licensed handyman, you need to get all the licensing. You need to register as a DBA. And if you want to go the LLC route, you need to form an LLC. But all of these things happen in time. Really, if you don't have jobs lined up and you don't have work, you can't pay for any of this stuff. That's everything for today. So thank you so much for joining me on Small Business Strong. And until next time.